pretty much, if you have a dream, you have anything in your heart, a passion, go for it. Just be open. Put yourself out there. That's something that I'm doing right now. I'm building my brand. I'm realizing that I am a brand. You do have value. You do have a lot of things that you can teach people. So whatever that gift, that talent that you have, be open about it and help other people.
I think that it's becoming harder and harder because teams understand that there's so many people that want to play.
Yeah.
So the market isn't what it should be. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you have the top level players who are going to get the top level dollars, but for the people that may be coming from a small school or maybe didn't have great stats, it's hard.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't have an agent.
Right.
You know what I mean? Maybe you have your parents telling you need to get a job.
Right.
Maybe you have to get a job to support paying a trainer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and you still have to lift weights. So it is a grind, and it doesn't always look pretty. I think it's underrated and undervalued that, you only have one set.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't get to pick your parents. You don't get to pick your brothers. Like, your sisters. It is what it is.
Right.
So I think people need to also understand and just value those relationships and try to build them up and keep them strong and rebuild them if they're broken. Because if, God forbid, if anything was to happen to a loved one, it hurts. And I know that firsthand.
Right.
Wondering, did you say everything that you wanted to say? Did you tell them that you cared about them, that you loved them, that you appreciated them? So just every single day being able to hug someone or picking up the phone and being able to call someone you care about is something that I think everybody needs to make the time for.
Okay, so welcome to Talks with Tay. I'm Taylor Brown, and I'm here with Jay Gavin. Jay Gavin, we went to Bishop McNamara, went to the same school. He made all-county team, all met. He went to Bowie State University. He was the MEAC Rookie of the Year. He has experience playing professional basketball overseas in Germany. And he started his own training company. So he trains a lot of athletes in the DMV area, starting with the youth, as kids, up to high school, and all the way up to the pro league. So it's an honor to have you here on the show, man. And I just want to sit down and talk with you and learn more about you. So, we're just going to talk. So my first question for you is, for people who may not know you, what's your background? Where are you from?
So I grew up in the Capitol Heights, Sea Pleasant area. Of course, like you said, went to McNamara. Then out of McNamara, I went to Marist College, which is in Poughkeepsie, New York. And I had a very successful freshman year. I led my team in scoring, won Rookie of the Year. Like, it was a really successful freshman season. Got to play against some really good players. And then, like any small college, you have the risk of your coach leaving. So my coach leaves, and me being I would say naive to not really grasp what I had did because I just worked really hard. Mm-hmm. So I was more so like, well, I can kind of do this maybe somewhere else, and not understanding the value in what I had already created at that school. So I would have had to really be a complete a-hole for the next coach not to really rock with me.
Right.
So, but anyway, no way. I ended up transferring to VCU to play for Anthony Grant, he's currently the coach at the University of Dayton, and was really excited about that. I had two pros that were on my team, Eric Maynard, who got drafted, and then Larry Sanders, who was the same year as me, who ended up getting drafted. And it just was a whole different culture of basketball. Like, the expectation, it just was different. I learned a great wealth of knowledge while my time there. So my sit-out year, I tried to get a waiver to play right away. My parents had some health issues, but unfortunately the NCAA denied me. So it was I call it ironic, with some of the waivers that they give and some that they don't, because that following year or that following summer, my mom passed away. So at 19, my mom passes away, and she didn't get to see me play when I was 2 hours away from home. So, but that's all water under the bridge. So then that following year, I get to play for Shaka Smart, and again learn the wealth of knowledge, but it just wasn't a good marriage, for whatever reason. Again, I complete respect for him and the coach he is, but for me, it just wasn't. With everything I was going through, losing my mom, it just wasn't a good fit. So I decided to come home, finish at Bowie State, and at Bowie, I just really couldn't stay healthy. I broke my foot twice. I played with it broke for a whole season, and that was one of the silliest decisions ever, because it caused some misalignments and things that still to this day, you kind of deal with.
Yeah.
So from there, you take the journey of trying to become a professional basketball player, and I mean it's a grind.
Yeah.
It's a grind. So
Yeah.
it took me a year and a half probably before I could even get anything, and I ended up having a friend of mine who was a higher level player. He was playing in Spain in the ACB,
Okay.
and he basically allowed me to come and stay with him,
Right.
and it made the transition easier for me to get an opportunity to play overseas. So I got an opportunity to play in Germany. It was different,
Yeah.
but it was a really valuable experience, just to be able to check off that accomplishment of, man, I got paid to play basketball.
Right.
You know what I mean? And be able to provide that experience and that knowledge now when I'm able to give back to, the community, the youth,
Yeah.
and to other players. So that experience went well, but again, like my body just was telling me that it was time.
Yeah.
So it just didn't hold up. So I'm 20, maybe 23. It's crazy. I just had a Facebook memory pop up today
Right.
of a picture from 6 years ago. So I was 23, 24, and trying to figure out what's next. So I was working. I started working for a company, well, Capital One. I was doing corporate security, and I was training on the side. Coach Keefline actually had got me to come back to McNamara and coach,
Yeah.
and allowed me to access to get in the gym and train. And really, one kid turned into three turned into five turned into seven, and so on and so forth. But even before I started my own thing, I had been training for another company out in Bethesda, and the company ended up going under. But it was just a really good experience because I was able to see, like, I'm good at this.
Right.
You know what I mean? I got really good feedback. People requested to work out with me. They liked how I interacted with their kids, how I pushed their kids, whether it be young kids or high school kids. Like, they enjoyed their experiences with me. And I'm like, oh, I could really do this.
Yeah.
So what ended up making it easier for me was I worked a job at Capital One for a year, and the company decided to move that part of the department to Richmond.
Okay.
So it was, do I move to Richmond,
Right.
stay with the company, have a different job hours, basically have to start over when it
Yeah.
comes to training and finding the gym, and
Yeah. all
it's
that.
it's hard. That's a hard part.
Right.
And I was lucky enough to where they said you can move or you can get a severance. So the severance allowed me to really focus on the business. So now I don't have the stress of, I don't have the stress of worrying, the bills are taken care of.
Right.
Like, I'm able to really just focus on doing the work of training and allowing the work that I'm doing facilitate a parent telling somebody else, and that parent telling somebody else. And then
Right.
next thing you know, between coaching, I got, I don't even really know how this situation occurred, but I got not invited, I guess you could say invited, to see some sixth graders practice in Baltimore.
Okay.
And I ended up coaching them. And it was a great experience, my first time ever being a head coach. But I had a special group of kids. Like, they're all freshmen or sophomores in high school right now. They're all still playing high level. I got one kid a couple kids that's high level football, but one of them that only plays football. And people seeing me with them
Yeah.
also then brought traffic
Right.
because they're like, oh, I want to see,
Yeah.
what's going on. And that was just through me coaching them. So then I got a lot of young kids to come and start training, and the parents really liked just how I pushed them. So it was a dope opportunity of how everything just kind of came together
Right.
when I aligned myself with what God had for me. You know what I mean? Like I tell people all the time, like I feel like I'm really blessed to wake up every day and do what I feel like, the big fella upstairs put me here to do.
Right.
Like if he wanted me to still be playing basketball, my body would have held up.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I think that I'm able to impact and touch so many more people through training that I never even would have thought of. Like you can never really measure your ripple effect, but I would like to think that I'm doing my part.
Yeah. No, for sure. Like just hearing your whole story, I mean, it goes to your brand, like trust your grind. Like, so you're repping it right now.
Absolutely, always.
So like, what does that mean? People who don't know, like, what is trust your grind?
So the way it came about, so I was coaching for Maryland Finance, the kids I just was talking about, right? So we're in 7th grade. We're playing in a tournament in Baltimore, and we lose. We're playing in a Super Pool. So mind you, in 6th grade, we won the national championship. We're, considered one of the best, if not the best, 6th grade team in the country, whatever. And again, it's still little kid basketball.
Yeah.
But, my biggest thing was always to them, I want y'all to be prepared to play high school basketball.
Right.
So the way that they were coached previously before me gave them a great foundation to where when I finally got them, I was able to teach them stuff I didn't learn until college.
Got you.
So there was now an expectation level of greatness.
Right.
So when we lost, which we didn't do often, it was like it was usually us. It was something that we didn't do. So we lose a game, and it's still pool play. So everybody's gonna make it to bracket play, all this stuff, and it's like, but it's a game we shouldn't have lost.
Right.
So, but we had another game an hour after that.
Okay.
So I take the kids in the back, and I'm talking to all of them, and I'm going down the line of what the expectation is for each and every single one of them.
Gotcha.
For now, for what what's expected later, and I get to a kid. He was one of my guards' name's Antonio Hamlin. He's a sophomore at Mount St. Joe's now. And I remember like it was yesterday, I knew that he was a hard worker.
Right.
Like I knew that he put time in shooting and working on his jump shot because he could really get to the basket. I mean, he could really get to the basket. But I knew that he was working on his game. Mm-hmm. So I'm just flowing, just talking,
Right.
like just speaking from my heart because
Right.
I really, still to this day, I really love these kids. Like I love these kids. So I tell him, I said, yo, you're not trusting your work. You're not trusting your grind. So I said, after you say something, you're like,
Yeah.
dang, that was good, right? So fast forward, we ended up winning that whole tournament, and a couple weeks later, I had went to get the kids shooting shirts, and I had a friend of mine who does shooting shirts, and I was telling him the story of, the weekend and stuff like that. He was like, man, I always see you wearing Nike.
Right.
You should be wearing Trust Your Grind. So I was like, yeah, some of my parents, they asked me to make shirts, blah, 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 but it's not really my thing. I just want to train,
Yeah.
whatever. I have no clear picture of how this is gonna work out.
Yeah.
Right. So, Sports Heaven brand. That's the people who have done majority of my shirts.
Okay.
This guy, his name is Joey Butler. So I'm like Joey, just put something together for me. Mm-hmm. And he's like family to me. So I'm like, I trust him. I'm like, just put something together. So he sends me a picture of what he comes up with, and I'm like blown away. I'm like, that's dope.
Yeah.
So I start texting the picture out
Right.
to parents.
Right.
And then come to find out, I can get it in any which colorway, black and white and pink,
Right.
pink and red, like any
Yeah.
color, right?
Yeah.
So my first order is like 50 shirts. So then now I'm just doing T-shirts. And I'm like, wow. So now the brand itself starts to just kind of take off.
Bro, yeah.
Because now I have a kid that goes to the AAU tournament, and somebody's noticing, like, man, that's Trust Your Grind. Or they're at another,
Yeah.
they're not even working out with me. They're at another workout. They're at their school or something, and they're wearing it.
Right.
And then to the point to now, everybody's like, if I introduce myself and I'm like, yeah, I'm Jay Gavin.
Yeah.
But if I say like, yeah, like, Trust Your Grind, people be like, oh, that's you.
Yeah.
So it's very it's humbling for something that came out of just pure
Yeah.
authenticity of giving myself to these kids
Right.
has just taken off to what it is now.
Yeah.
But the simple meaning behind it, and I tell people all the time, we live in a day and age of comparison, right? So when I just said this yesterday, when I received an award yesterday at a Black History program,
Yeah.
and I told the people when I spoke, I was like, in this day and age, everybody wants to compare.
Right.
So, you can compare your talks with Tay to somebody else's podcast that they've been doing it for 10 years and be like,
Right.
man, I'm not, you know what I
Right.
mean? Instead of
Right.
just laying your foundation and doing what you're supposed to do every single day. So
Yeah.
when I think of treasure grind, I always tell people, I'm like, just run your race with blinders on. Like, it's really that simple. Like, understand that whatever you desire, you can have, but you got to be willing to do what's necessary.
Right.
And it doesn't have to look like what this person's journey look like.
Right.
Now, if it's a successful blueprint and you can follow it, absolutely. But understand that the bumps in the road that they might have had, you may not have, or you may have more. Yours may be different. Like, there's X amount of people in the NBA, all of them had different routes.
Yeah.
There's X amount of millionaires and billionaires, they all had different routes.
Yeah.
Now, successful people have things in common, but this is all different things and all different avenues to get to the same destination, the same goal.
Pretty much, if you have a dream, you have anything in your heart, a passion, go for it. Just be open. Put yourself out there. That's something I'm doing right now. I'm building my brand. I'm realizing that I am a brand. You do have value. You do have a lot of things that you can teach people. So whatever that gift, that talent that you have, be open about it and help other people.